Hello, we will be learning about World War I. We're going to start with the causes, understandably, today. Easy way to remember the main causes of World War I is the acronym MAINS, M-I-A-I-N-S, militarism, alliances, industrialization, or imperialism, both I's, nationalism, also a spark brought by the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria-Hungary by an assassin from Serbia. So breaking these down, militarism is when you try to increase your military and you have a lifestyle in your country that has a lot of emphasis on having military strength. It's a rise in military spending and an increase in the amount of soldiers and weapons that you have. Militarism was one of the main causes because many countries in Europe that were already pretty powerful, Britain, France, Germany, and Russia, were all practicing imperialism and building empires in Africa and Asia. They wanted to get more land, become more powerful, and so they were kind of looking at each other and noticing that the other one was trying to build up its strength too, and they began to feel threatened and want to challenge each other. Germany built up its navy to try to match Britain's, and France built up its army to try to challenge Germany. They built these alliances. An alliance is kind of like a team, a group, a club. It's when you get together with someone else and you make an agreement saying, if somebody hurts you, then I will come and help you. The first alliance was with Austria-Hungary, Germany, and Bulgaria. And then the Triple Entente, which is also an alliance. An easy way to remember this, Entente is French. France is in the Entente group. Russia, Britain, and France made an alliance. For a time, these alliances helped maintain a fragile peace, but all it took was one little skirmish until everyone got brought in on it, and that is exactly what happens. Nationalism, think of the root word nation. So you're very loyal and enthusiastic about your nation under nationalism, an extreme form of patriotism. It also leads to feeling superior over other countries. Extreme nationalism makes you so proud of who you are and where you come from that you think that other places are inferior, other races are inferior. And so nationalism from all these countries that are building up their militaries, they start to feel supreme over the other ones, and you feel when somebody wants to fight you, you're like, oh, well, of course I can take you, that's no problem, I'm better than you, I'm stronger than you. Soon they begin referring to Europe as a powder keg, something that was just ready to explode, like a firework that was just laying around by a campfire. Franz Ferdinand was the heir of the throne to Austria-Hungary, which is now two countries, Austria and Hungary, but at the time they were together. Franz Ferdinand, who was the heir to the throne, Archduke is another word for like a prince, it's an easy way to think about it. He's visiting Bosnia with his wife, and someone that was angry that Austria-Hungary had taken over, was practicing imperialism, had taken over Serbia, shot and killed the Duke and the Duchess, and that led the chain of events that caused the war, because obviously Austria-Hungary was angry and they declared war because their prince had been killed, and that led to the alliances and a domino effect because everyone had to jump in and assist and follow through with the promises that they had made. So after the assassination, Austria declared war on Serbia because they had assassinated their prince, and then Russia was in an alliance with Serbia, so then Russia had to jump in to help. The alliance system, and now it's just going crazy. You can see here from this map, we've got the yellow countries had all agreed to help one another, so they're all brought in, and then the green countries had all agreed to help each other, and so they're all brought in. Germany and Austria-Hungary are in the middle together, and everyone else is on the outside, kind of circling them, which could have been to their advantage, But it didn't turn out that way. So we now have total war. The opposed nations use every resource and citizen to keep up the fight. So everybody thinks that because they've been maintaining their militaries and keeping them strong, that this is going to be easy. But the fact that everyone had done such a good job building up their weapons technologies and spending money on preparing their citizens to be in a war, everybody was kind of on an equal playing field, and it led to what is called a stalemate, a tie in the war. Everybody was as powerful as the other. These new and improved weapons that I'm talking about was the machine gun, which was the most deadly weapon in the war because you could kill lots of people with a machine gun. It's rapid fire, and I mean, you can shoot bullet after bullet very quickly, and each side had the machine gun, so it was equally deadly on each side. There was poison gas, tanks. When you're in the tank, you are impervious to the bullets, but before the tank was invented, the machine gun was a real problem. It was the first war with airplanes, although they weren't very good and they couldn't carry bombs or anything like that yet. And this is the first war we also have submarines that Germany invented, and they used it against the British, who had a very strong navy. This was a STAR question on the STAR test a couple of years ago. What is the best title for this list? Rise of militarism, upset the balance of power in Europe, political interference in the unstable Balkan Peninsula increased tensions throughout Europe, and Germany, Austria, Hungary, and the Ottoman Empire aligned against France, Russia, and Great Britain. Well, number 2, B, World War II. It's definitely the wrong answer. Cold War, we're not talking about the Cold War, so B and D you can eliminate immediately. Austria-Hungary is going to break apart after World War I and become 2 countries. And so that's also another telltale sign that it's World War I. Issues contributing to the outbreak, the cause of World War I. A is the correct answer. The United States refuses to get involved. We practiced isolationism, to isolate yourself, to stand alone. We were like, we feel really bad, and Great Britain is our best friend, but listen, it looks like a hot mess that you guys have got yourself in, and so we're okay over here. It doesn't have anything to do with us. President Wilson was like, nah, we're not getting involved. The reasons why we got in after not wanting to be involved and saying we weren't getting involved is because we're very good friends with Britain. They're a strong ally of ours. They're asking for help, and we just kept saying, sorry, this isn't our fight. There was a telegraph sent from Germany to Mexico. The British intercepted it and showed it to us. Like, hey, look at this. Now you want to get involved, right? There was a secret message that the Germans had sent to Mexico saying, hey, if you attack the United States, we will come and help you as soon as we're able, and we will give you back the pieces of Mexico that the United States has taken. Texas, New Mexico, Arizona. Mexico was like, we don't want no trouble. We don't want no trouble. Mexico told the United States, like, listen, we're not getting involved. Don't worry. But then these submarines that the Germans have invented, the Unterseebootens, they are practicing unrestricted submarine warfare. The United States is sending boats across the Atlantic Ocean to Europe for economic reasons, trading, some for travel, and Germany is sinking American ships because they're like, we're at war, we're trying to, do our best to win, and so we're firing on ships. We don't have the time, or we can't be troubled to see whose boat is whose. We told them we didn't like that. They apologized a couple of times for sinking ships of ours for no reason. But the last straw was they sunk a passenger ship that was, looks like the Titanic. It was just full of people traveling, and there were a lot of Americans on board. And that made us very upset, and they had already promised that they would stop. So President Wilson says, all right, well, we're now at war against Germany, and we're going to go be on the side of the Entente with France and in England. to get ready for war. We sold Liberty bonds. That was when the United States, you would buy basically a little piece of the war by contributing your money to help fight, buy weapons, get ready for war, and then in return, you would receive your money back plus a little extra. Congress also passed the draft. It was called the Selective Service Act for the first time so that we could mobilize to send boys over there. The Americans were called doughboys. They were not ready to fight. We weren't ready for a war, and they were very young and green, as they called them. Their commander was named John Pershing. He trained them and made them into rough, tough fighters. I always think of him as John Perishing, like he made the enemy perish. He did a good job training the soldiers. When the men were gone, we had to make weapons, just like in World War II, and make all of the supplies that our boys needed over across the Atlantic. Women had to fill, just like in World War II, jobs left by men, and minorities also filled jobs left by soldiers, part of the Great Migration, leaving the South where there was a lot of trouble for minorities and going to the North to take war jobs. During the war, everybody was supposed to sacrifice and ration because all of those supplies, just like in World War II, needed to go to the boys. There was propaganda, these posters that were made to provoke strong feelings, trying to get people to get on the side of the war, make you feel guilty or proud, join the war, ration, don't be wasteful, do everything you can, buy war bonds to try to help us win the war. In World War I, you were not allowed to speak out against the war. It was called the Espionage and Sedition Acts. It was a crime to criticize it, whether it was you said it or you wrote it or you protested. You could go to jail or be fined, and they even read through the mail to make sure that nobody was printing anything or saying anything bad about the war and trying to decrease the positive morale that people had. General Pershing's men were called the American Expeditionary Force. As I said, I think of him as John Perishing because he made people perish with his men, and we won the war. Their arrival helped break the stalemate of the war there in the trenches because everybody had these weapons, and they were killing each other equally. There was a tie in the war on the Western Front in France for years until the Americans showed up, hundreds of thousands strong, and were able to break through a hole there in the Argonne Forest, which was the final battle of World War I. Alvin York was the biggest hero of that battle, and he was awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor for bravery. As I said, the Battle of Argonne Forest was the final battle of the war. We busted through, up here you can see the little map, we busted through the lines there going into Belgium, and we were able to, even though 26,000 Americans were killed in that battle, we were able to gain an advantage, and we were able to come out on top and be the winner of that war. Here are the fatalities of World War I. See, we've got Russia, like there's fatality rates. 37 million soldiers died globally in the Great War. So stay tuned for World War I Part 2.